Good evening, everybody. My name is Marianne Shrum. I am the Director of the Office of Parent and Family Engagement here at Rutgers, and we're so glad that you were able to join us tonight for this virtual event on student support. Tonight, you're going to hear from campus leaders from across the campus who are going to tell you a little bit about the resources that their office has for our students and your students. We appreciate you being here tonight. We consider you our partners as your students become engaged at the university, and whether they're just beginning or whether they're getting close to graduation. There's a lot of support and resources for them. So we're just going to tell you a little bit about what we have. So we're going to get started because we have a lot of pre-submitted questions. A lot of you submitted questions in advance. If you have questions while this webinar is going on, you can ask them in the Q&A, and the panelists will do their best to get every one of them answered the best they can. So we're just going to get going. Give me a second, Jeff, to share my screen, and we will get going. Let me just move this. All right, are we good? Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Jeff, it's all you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Brogy. I'm the Senior Associate Dean for Students within the Office of the Dean of Students Advocacy, Outreach, and Support area. Our unit is really here to help students with any challenges outside the classroom that are impacting coursework, whether that's guiding them through how to work and communicate with professors, connecting them to resources, connecting them to academic advisors, and getting them any form of help possible within the institution. And so we're there to strive to provide access to any and every tool the university has, intervening when challenges occur, and really kind of help students put tools on their belt to become independent as they roll through the university and move from their first year to graduation. And that's our end goal, is to get them to graduation and success beyond that. We do a number of different things. I'm going to do a quick glimpse over each of them. Absence and verification notices for students who are ill or have a documented reason for missing class, not because they didn't want to get out of bed, not because they weren't interested in attending today, but there was a medical situation where they've seen a doctor, there was a family emergency, which we can document. Unfortunately, we have lots of deaths in families with so many students, and we will advocate with faculty and verify reasons why they were absent more than a couple of days. We also have a case management and community concern team. The university has what we call the do something or community concern button. And when people are worried about a student, they see different behaviors in the classroom than they're used to, or see a student that just providing and giving some worrisome behavior, whether it's they're worried about their safety within themselves, they're worried about changes in their mood, changes in how they're behaving. Our case management team does all kinds of work to connect with and, again, provide resources and make sure the students have the supports they need to be successful. That student support referral I talked about in the beginning, it's really about knowing we have 6 deans and 120 some years of Rutgers student affairs experience. So we know this university similar to the back of our hands. So we know and have relationships in almost every single office, and we can get students the answers they need, not the answers they always want, but the answers they need to make that well-informed decision and a connection to the right place. We also have a staff member not dedicated to, but their specialization is really providing and helping and supporting our undocumented student population, as we have a large population here at the university, and making sure they have access to equitable resources at the institution and opportunity. And then we can go to the next slide, and I will turn it over to Nikki.
Thanks, Jeff. I don't know why I'm frozen. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Dr. Nikki Isaacson. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I am the lead clinical social worker at Rutgers Counseling Center, or CAPS, which stands for Counseling, Alcohol, and Other Drug Assistance Program and Psychiatric Services. We have about 35 clinicians, including psychiatrists, psychologists, clinical social workers, drug and alcohol counselors, licensed professional counselors, to provide a whole variety of counseling services to both undergraduate and graduate students. And we basically focus on providing individual brief therapy, as well as group counseling, case management services if students need higher levels of care. Most of our services are free, and any student is eligible for our services at Rutgers. In order to access us, it's several different ways. Most often students are setting up an initial consultation, which is a brief consultation where we get a sense of what they need. Sometimes we're helping direct those students to other services, like maybe the dean's office, or the Office of Disability Services. Oftentimes, though, we are bringing them in, meeting with them, and coming up with what we call an action plan where we can develop the best services for them. Sometimes if students need or are looking for a longer term relationship with a therapist, we have a referral coordinator who can also help them connect to lots of different resources in the community. In addition to providing those services at our counseling center or via Zoom, we also have embedded counselors who are community-based counselors, and they're located in 15 different communities on campus, and they have more informal drop-in sessions for students. So sometimes it's a little intimidating for a student to think about going to a formal counseling session. So they can just have these informal consultations. Those embedded counselors also provide a lot of workshops and groups in different locations across campus. If a student is in crisis, we have on-call counselors available Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m. And then after hours, students can always call our main number and they can get connected to a counselor over the phone anytime we're not available. So now I'd like to hand it over to Rob and Brittany, who are going to talk about student support services.
Sure, thanks, Nikki. Appreciate it. I guess I'll talk first. My name is Rob Curlin. I'm the Senior Associate Dean for the undergraduate program at the Rutgers Business School. I'm going to talk a little bit about academic advisement in general with my colleague. Brittany, you want to introduce yourself as well?
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany Robichon. I'm the Director of the Student Advising and Retention Office at the School of Nursing.
So Britt and I represent two of the colleges here. Obviously, there's a few colleges. Colleges do things a little differently, not always necessarily the exact same way, but we all have the same central idea behind it, that our advisors are here to guide students. Anything academic that's not technically in the classroom comes through our offices, whether it is figuring out what course you need, coming up with a 4-year plan, discussing how the courses relate to the major and to their career. That's the direction that we usually go. We advise that students contact their advisors any way they can, whether it's email, phone, or appointment, whether it's in person or virtual. All the advising offices have got people ready and willing to support your students. It's actually interesting because we're right around midterms right now, so you can imagine how busy we're starting to get. The spring registration is going to be starting in a few weeks, so students are starting to really make appointments with us right now. I don't know if you want to go to the next slide, Brittany.
Yep. So the main thing to know about the advising and student responsibilities, but also the relationship, is that it is a relationship. It's a partnership between your student as well as the professional staff. A lot of the schools have both a professional academic advisor as well as faculty advising. So for example, I represent one of the Rutgers Health schools, and we also have, in addition, subject matter experts who are faculty advisors. So really the advisor is the guidance to help the student with the policies, common procedures, all of that information that students may not know that they don't know when it comes to their academics. How do they stay on track for their program? Rob and I both also represent professional schools outside of the arts and sciences, which is a little more liberal arts based. So what are the restrictions that this student needs to know for their particular program? However, on the student end, it is also their responsibility to be up to date with that information. So we will usually guide them on how to access their academic catalogs to find out their school's policies, as well as the resources that Rutgers has available. As Rob said, we are in registration time coming up in a couple of weeks, so there's a lot of different places that they have to check for that information. And that is part of the student responsibility to be prepared, to be curious and looking up that information to bring that to their advising session. So it's a more effective talk and time and not just questions they could have honestly just Googled themselves. So it's a partnership throughout the programs at Rutgers. And so now we're going to pass it over to Lucia.
Hey everyone, my name is Lucille Leung. I'm the Director for Academic Coaching and Strategic Learning at the Learning Centers. So the Learning Centers, we have one on each of the 4 campuses, and we have all of our services online as well. We offer free academic support services to all Rutgers students, undergrad and grad. You can also just go to our services. The students can come and just study. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the resources that we offer, but our website is learningcenters.rutgers.edu. And I also want to emphasize that, we are free for all of our services, including professional academic coaching, which, at many universities and institutions do come at a charge for students. So definitely encourage your students to come and check out the learning centers, not waiting until it's, after they maybe don't do as well as they would have liked, get in early. So some of the services that we offer include drop-in tutoring for a number of different topics, also writing tutoring, which is one-on-one support for all different writing classes, whether it's college writing, or it could be, a sociology class, right? Or you could be writing, working on a paper for a history class. So it could be any kind of writing support, or just trying to learn how to become a better writer. Academic coaching, which is my program, involves students working on various learning strategies, study strategies. It could be test taking strategies. It could be like motivation and focus, time management, even stress management related to academics. So there are a number of different topics. We have one-on-one academic coaching as well as group workshops. We also have some coaching groups to offer and some online learning modules. So if students want to, complete it on their own time, they're able to. And then we have a very large learning assistant program where LAs go into the classroom and help out with lecture, recitation, and they also lead study groups. We hire about, 400 to 500 learning assistants every year. So it's one of the highest paying student jobs on campus. So if your student does well in a course, they can apply to be an LA or a tutor. And I also wanted to mention that our academic coaches are all professional staff. So we do have a small peer coaching program, but all of our one-on-one academic coaching, they are professional staff, either part-time or full-time as well. So you can scan the QR code to take you to the website, or just take down the URL, but also happy to answer any questions that you might have about the learning centers.
Thanks, Lucy. And up next, we have Phil Smith. Are you there, Phil?
I am there. Hello,
There you
everyone.
are.
My name is Philip Smith, new title, so I'm trying to get this right. Associate Dean of Students and Director of our Student Basic Needs Center. So, there are times where your student might have some challenges, and we want them to be able to thrive academically and personally. So what we do is, in our areas, we connect students with food, housing, financial assistance, and mental health support. So our students can be able to thrive while they're here at Rutgers University. With that, as you can see on our photo, there is a picture of our brand new Basic Needs Center that just opened up back in January of 2025, where we are able to provide holistic and wraparound care support for our students that might be in need. We can go to the next slide. With that being said, we are able to support students with any challenges with being able to access food on a regular basis with our food pantry that we have in-house. We do take donations, and if you are willing or able to support basic needs, our website, which is basicneeds.rutgers.edu, actually has a support page if you're interested on clothing, bringing clothing to our area to support students with clothing insecurity, but also food insecurity with our ways of being able to donate food. And even have a Amazon wish list where you can actually purchase food and send it directly to us and not have to actually bring it to our office or get delivered directly to us. But again, we are open Monday through Friday. Our food pantry is open for a number of hours that students are able to come in. It's real easy for them to get access and have access to the different basic needs supports. But we also oversee emergency aid. We also oversee textbook assistance programs where students are able to get books from our library that we currently have over 500 books, so they could save some money there if they are in need. Also, situations of transportation insecurity where they might need to be able to get back and forth to campus, but also those emergency situations where they need temporary housing due to a house fire or homelessness situation. We're here to support those students in a variety of different ways. So we are located in the College Avenue Student Center, lower level. If you're familiar with Rutgers, it used to be named the Red Lion Cafe. So we are here to again support students, and if you want to take a tour of our space, feel free to come by and see what we are able to do to support students and their basic needs here at Rutgers.
Thanks, Phil.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the Basic Needs Center is great. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. I was there at the grand opening, and it was great to see that Rutgers had put that together. I'm going to leave this slide up just for a second. So anybody who's on, if they want to take a quick picture of this is the contact information for everybody who's on this evening, with the exception of academic advising. Because most of your students might be at different schools. So the best way to do it is you can go on the Rutgers website, or you could actually Google, academic advising School of Arts and Sciences, and that's gonna be the first thing that pops up is gonna be for the Rutgers. So if your student needs some information about advising, and also I'm going to stop sharing now. Everybody should know that this is being recorded and will be sent out afterwards to everybody who registered for tonight's town hall. So now that you know a little bit about everybody who's on with you this evening, I am going to start just asking some of the pre-submitted questions that came in. Some of these I think might go to maybe a couple of you presenters. So I'll start where I think it should be. And then if somebody else has an answer to the question, feel free to jump in. The first one I have is for Nikki. My student has a lot of anxiety around things they cannot control, such as limited parking spaces and crowded buses, causing them to be late for classes. How can I help lessen this anxiety?
Well, that's a great question. I would start by just validating your students' feelings. Acknowledge, yeah, Rutgers is a crowded, large school. I think there's 52,000 students or something like that, and it has multiple campuses, which can be hard to navigate, especially if it's your first semester, if you're first year away from home, or, maybe a transfer student coming from a smaller school. And then rather than giving advice, I would ask them what they think they might do to try to address their anxiety or their worry. If being late increases or creates anxiety for them, well, what steps can they take to decrease the chances they'll be late, right? Start with their knowledge, which is certainly more than yours or mine, on how to navigate the buses, for example, and what they can do differently. And then if they can't come up with anything, you can certainly make some suggestions, but I would really normalize that anxiety. It is pretty intimidating and scary when you start to kind of navigate this new environment. But most students learn over time. They get used to it. They're far more technologically adept than we are. They figure out like the next step next bus system and all those things. So I think just normalizing and validating it is a really good start. And then if they're finding that their anxiety is really debilitating, we have students who have tremendous fears about riding the bus, and we do exposure therapy with them to help them get past that. So if you really feel like this anxiety is getting in the way of their functioning, you can always encourage them to give us a call.
Great, thanks, Nikki. Now we'll jump, I know, Phil, you were answering a question. Are you done answering that question in the Q&A?
I'll finish it after this one if you have one for me. That's fine.
Okay. Is there any assistance for students who commute to help with transportation costs?
Yeah, so there is not financial consideration in that regards as far as our basic needs, unless there was some extenuating circumstances that a student would need to apply for emergency aid assistance. However, the university does have a connection with NJ Transit if they are looking to get a student discount in regards to transportation to get back and forth to campus. So I believe the rate itself for a monthly pass is around $3 to $3.50, depending on where they're coming from. So they're able to purchase that and be able to get, again, that discount. And I believe if you purchase 3 months worth of passes, I think you get the 4th month free. But again, that is a independent offering from NJ Transit that does have discounted for university students.
Great, thanks, Phil. And we're going to jump over to Lucille now at the Learning Centers. Are services available for all majors and courses or only select ones?
So it depends on the service. For tutoring, we have tutoring in over 50 different courses. So you can check on, we use the app Penji, Penji, to register and also to search for the schedule for tutoring. If you're ever unsure or you forget, you can always visit our website. It'll direct you there. And then there are services like academic coaching where they are not tied to a specific course or major. So all students can sign up for academic coaching to work on things like study strategies, time management, and things like that.
Great, thank you. Jeff, here's one for you. What measures are in place to support transfer students in developing connections to the university with other students?
But I'll tell you, this week is the perfect time to ask that question because this is transfer week at the institution, and student orientation and transition programs has an array of programs this week. I'm going to share a link with Marissa so we can get it out to everyone here so that you have everything. But there are programs every single day this week for our transfer community.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Either Rob or Brittany, you want me to pick? Because then you guys don't have to decide. All right, we'll start with Rob because he's the first one I see.
Sure.
How often do students meet with their academic advisors, and is it mandatory?
So, great question. Advisement is not mandatory most of the time. And what I mean by that is, students generally have to meet with their advisor when they're onboarded at the university, whether they're new freshmen or transfers. But after that, it's really up to the student to determine if they are going to come in. We recommend coming in. I always tell students, check in once a semester. It doesn't have to be anything too formal. It could be an email, but we want to make sure that you are staying on course. Literally and figuratively. We hear from a lot of students who, they take classes because their brother, their friend, their mother, their lawyer, their whoever recommended it. And that's all well and good, but the experts are the people who work as advisors, and we would want you to follow our recommendations. So it's not mandatory, but that being said, there are certain cases, some colleges, if you're on probation, you might have to have some mandatory, but the general idea is that it's not mandatory for most schools. Again, it's always interesting because different schools may have different policies, and I don't know if Brittany has different policies for nursing, but it's not mandatory in general, and we recommend coming in, just make sure you're on course at least once a semester. I don't know if Brittany, you want to add to that?
That is pretty much on par across the board. For example, for the Rutgers Health schools and programs on the undergraduate level, It is not mandatory, but it is highly encouraged at key points, as we do also have clinical experiences that we have to do an academic eligibility. So even if you've met the credits, if you have not met the academic requirements in the specific courses, you may not go into clinical simulation. So that's a key piece of what we determine is it's not necessarily mandatory advising appointments, but as Rob said, advising contacts, whether it's group advising, emails, workshops, programs, whatever the point of contact with that advising service is.
Great. Thank you both. Nikki, here's another one for you. Are there specialized services for students dealing with trauma, grief, or substance abuse?
That's a great question. Yeah, we do actually have a number of services at CAPS for students dealing with all of those. All of our counselors are very well trained and experienced in helping students deal with grief. We actually also have a grief group that meets weekly for students who've experienced loss. And so that's open to any student who's needing that support. We also, many of our counselors have training and expertise in a variety of trauma treatments. In fact, our director, Dr. Jennifer Jones-Damas, is a recognized expert in racial trauma. We provide cognitive processing therapy for trauma, which is sort of the gold standard evidence-based treatment for students with PTSD. We also are really fortunate. We have a dedicated group of alcohol and other substance use counselors. They provide both individual and group counseling for students. We have an early recovery group. We have support for students who have family members with substance use concerns. And Rutgers also has the Recovery House, which is a special housing for students who are in recovery from substances. In fact, we are the oldest recovery house in the nation. We really sort of started that movement. So we have tremendous support for students in that area.
Great. Thank you, Nikki. Phil, here's another one for you. What should a student do if they are experiencing food insecurity?
The best thing I would say is to come into our office or contact the Dean of Students office. So there's a number of different ways. We have what we call Dean drop-in opportunities where a student can come and meet with anyone of just staff. I'm also included on that as someone that meets with students during our virtual drop-ins or coming to the office of the Dean of Students office at 88 College Avenue. From there, they'll get a referral over to the Basic Needs Center, and our office hours are open are 9 to 5 on a daily basis. If a student comes in and it's their first time ever coming to the Basic Needs Center / our food pantry, they're able to go and utilize the food pantry right away. If they are in need of being able to use the food pantry more than the first time, then they would then set up a appointment based off of what their schedule looks like, and the student will be able to come in and utilize the services at that time. We will also provide other resources. So we'll look at ways to connect the student, whether it's with the National SNAP program, to see if they are able for any food assistance from state or federal government. We will connect them with other food pantries within the area. So depending on where they live and their zip code, if we need to connect them with someone outside of our resources. So our goal is to really be able to help them thrive, but we also understand it's a Band-Aid and we can't be the full support for that student. So what we'll really try to do is connect them with what we have as a supplement to what they're already doing and able to provide for themselves. And then we'll pinpoint them with other resources in the area.
Great. Thanks, Phil, so much. Lucille, I have another one for you about the learning centers. Do the learning centers offer help beyond tutoring, such as time management or study skills?
Yes, that would be academic coaching. So academic coaches focus on developing students' study strategies and also time management and a number of different other areas. So students can learn to be more metacognitive as thinkers, as learners, as students, to be able to help them in all sorts of different courses and overall as a student. So a lot of students aren't aware, but the number one success indicator in college students is actually metacognition. So students being aware and understanding their own thinking, their own learning, and being able to regulate that. So that's what our academic coaches do, and help them develop like a toolbox of study strategies and whatnot to be able to succeed academically.
Great, thanks so much. I have one here. I'm not sure who might be better at answering this. It might be you, Lucille, or maybe Jeff. The question is, my son has ADHD and has been struggling to focus even when medicated. What academic and counseling support is available to students with these issues?
So Lucille, you want me to get started and maybe you can kind of guide through the other piece? So my first connection will be, while it's not connected to any of our offices here, is to the Office of Disability Services. And you can find their website, ODS, Office of Disability Services.rutgers.edu. And in order to get legal academic accommodations in the classroom, you have to be registered through this office. And what I always tell students as well as families, that it's much better to have these in place and not use them than to be in an emergency and not have them. And so I'll be blunt and honest, my daughter suffered and struggles with anxiety for a long time and did not want to utilize them to start, and ran into a circumstance where she felt like she needed to do that. And needed them once in her career, but to have them that one time was the most important piece. So I think it would be important to get connected there. And I'm going to turn it to Lucille and maybe even Nikki as well for some guidance around the other pieces.
Yeah, so I'll just speak to the academic part. Our academic coaches actually frequently work with students who have ADHD or have other diagnoses such as autism spectrum or ADD, and or students who disclose or think they have ADHD, but maybe they aren't diagnosed. So we point them to a number of different resources as well. JZAP actually offers free testing on ADHD right now for Rutgers students that have Rutgers health insurance. And I believe it's $150 for students who are not under the Rutgers health insurance. But in terms of the learning centers, other than the one-on-one academic coaching, we also newly partnered with CAPS this semester, and we are running an ADHD group. So that already started for this semester, but we will continue it next year as well. And ARCAS and JZAP also offer several, groups for the ADHD as well as for students on the autism spectrum.
Yeah, I would just add that we near to the end of the semester, we run a group called Finish Line, helping students who might be feeling overwhelmed and feeling disorganized, with finals coming up, to help them learn some, get some additional support and help them get organized for finals. We also have a number of different groups. I think, sometimes when you have a diagnosis like ADHD, that can create a lot of anxiety and shame. So we work with students around that. We also have workshops and groups. We have a Cultivating Calm group to help students learn how to manage their anxiety. And we teach them a lot of mindfulness skills, there's really good evidence that practicing mindfulness actually helps with ADHD symptoms. So I think we can supplement a lot of the other great resources that we have at Rutgers to support students.
Great, thank you all for that answer.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to add one more thing I forgot to mention. We also have a Friday focus group at the Learning Center. So every Friday, I believe it's 11 o'clock on College Avenue campus, they can join and learn focus and concentration strategies.
Great, thanks. All right, I'm gonna put this one out for Brittany or Rob, whichever one of you wants to answer it. How flexible is the curriculum if a student wants to change majors?
If a student wants to change majors, it depends on which school within Rutgers they are part of, excuse me. So for example, School of Arts and Sciences has many majors within it, so it's very flexible to change majors within that school. When it comes to the professional schools, such as business, nursing, engineering, and so on, There are smaller amount of majors within that specific school. So if you're switching between schools, that's called an internal transfer or a school-school transfer. So it's much easier to change majors within your actual school that your student is a part of and matriculated with. The school-to-school transfer process occurs every semester, and each school has its own deadlines. So, for example, nursing is once a year, but some other schools are every semester. The overall curriculums are always provided on the advising websites. So typically, anytime you put the school.rutgers.edu/advising, you'll get to the Advising Center website. And they will have the checklists or example curriculum so students can follow along. There's also the resource at Rutgers Degree Navigator that allows students to audit to see if the courses they've already taken would apply to another major. So that's a big resource that students will see to see if it's applicable. But it really is dependent on if they're going within their school or between schools.
Great. Thanks, Brittany. Here's another one for Nikki. My student has been unusually anxious this year at school. Do you see this in other students as well?
Absolutely. Anxiety in all its different forms is our #1 diagnosis at CAPS, and it has been for many, many years. And so it's something that pretty much almost every student who comes to see us at least endorses in some form or another. And we've developed, again, we have a Cultivating Calm workshop that I actually created. That's 4 weeks to teach students a lot of skills and strategies to relate differently to their anxiety. Individual therapists work with students with anxiety. We have a social anxiety group for students that's been very popular, especially post-COVID. And so I would just really normalize that anxiety. There's a great little phrase we teach our students called saying to yourself, it's not dangerous, it's just uncomfortable, which actually helps to rewire the brain. I do think that sometimes our students have decided that being uncomfortable is not an acceptable thing to feel. And so, I pretty much normalize, yes, feeling anxious at times is part of being human. But we have lots of supports for students if their anxiety becomes debilitating, and it is super, super common.
Great. Thanks, Nikki. Phil, here's another one for you. Is emergency financial aid available for students in crisis?
Yeah, that's exactly what that is for. So we see it as unplanned, unforeseen, or unavoidable type of emergencies that come up. And that could be a variety of different things. And we'll make sure to put in the link for emergency aid and what the descriptions of it and what is typically approved versus what is not. What we do not provide is aid or anything assistance for families and or their tuition or fees or anything of that nature. But for example, a student has had a house fire where now they're displaced and they are needing to purchase, a book or something like that, or situations where their family has excommunicated with the student, and now the student's in a little bit of crisis in need of being able to find a new home, or in past we've had a flood that has happened in the residence that they were living in, and now they don't have any clothes, and there might be a situation where we could get them to our clothing closet and or emergency aid. So those are those extreme type cases. We ask that students utilize everything that is available to them. That includes loans, grants that might be available through financial aid. And we do actually check those resources to make sure the students have used every single thing that's possible for them before emergency aid is actually considered. And then a committee typically looks at those to make a decision on if approved and for how much it is approved. And most of our approvals are $500 or less, and depending on what those grants are. And the students also have to be aware that if they do receive this is a one-time allotment for them, and that they are also responsible for any taxes that might go along with it. And what does that look like moving forward with their financial aid for upcoming years as well?
Great. Thank you so much, Phil. Lucille, here's another one for the learning centers. Should students only sign up for learning center services if they're struggling or doing poorly in a course?
Thank you, Marianne. Definitely not. So I think that's a big stigma around getting help, getting academic support specifically. And that's completely not true. We actually served over 50% of the undergrad population at the learning centers last year and also the year before that. And the average GPA of a student who attends learning center services is a 3.1. So of course there are students who attend because they are doing poorly or need to boost their grades, but we have plenty of A and B students, 4.0 students even, who attend learning center services and are proactive about making sure they're on top of their studying and always building that toolbox, right, of study strategies and making sure they don't fall behind.
Great, thank you. Jeff, here's another one for you. I know that you talked a lot about the services that the Dean of Students can help with, but how does a student access them? So this question is, what should a student do in case of a personal or family emergency?
They should attend either our drop-in hours, schedule an appointment, email our office. And I did share, and I think Marissa shared within the chat, how to request assistance with our office. But our website is really easy. Our job is to support students. So our website is studentsupport.rutgers.edu. And again, students can reach out to us in any of multiple ways, coming onto our website and requesting assistance, where they can come to our drop-in hours, which are held Monday to Thursday afternoons, except for tomorrow where everyone is in a training, but every other Monday to Thursday afternoon from 1:30 to 4:30. On that same link, they can request an appointment. On the same link, they can request an absence and verification notice if they have their documentation and want to share that information with us, or they can email us at deanofstudents@echo.rutgers.edu, along with giving us a call, which is 848-932-2300. But we don't never turn a student away, and we will always get them the information that they need.
Great, thank you so much, Jeff. Rob, here's an academic one for you. And I know this is different for each school, but maybe you can answer this at least on behalf of the business school.
Sure.
Is there a way for a student to have the same academic advisor for the entire 4 years? How do advisors get assigned?
That's always a great question. So every school, I can't say does it the same. I know that it's done a little differently. Depending on the school, depends on what the answer is. I can tell you at the business school right now, we have one advisor that advises students as freshmen and sophomores, and then they turn it over to another advisor for upper class students. So it is by alpha. So if your last name is K, you might have person one as a freshman, sophomore, person two as a junior, senior. Other schools just have it randomly open so that students can choose who they want to meet with for an advisement appointment. So you might turn out that you like Jeff Brogy as your advisor, and you see him the first time and you want to keep seeing him again, you could try to schedule with Jeff every single time. So it really depends on the school in terms of how they do things. Some schools do it by class year. Freshmen all see this person, sophomores see that person, juniors and seniors. So it really does depend, I hate to say. Again, I don't know if Brittany, how they do it differently and nursing, but I can defer to her for anything there.
The biggest thing for having an advisor at any point in time is to know what the point of contact is as well as their general inbox. I know for the School of Nursing, we have an advisor in each of our physical locations. So even if the student just happens to be in this building and it may not be their advisor, an advisor is available. So a lot of times it's helpful for the student to not only know the name of their advisor, however it's assigned, but to also have the general contact. So for example, a lot of them tend to be advising at whatever the school.rutgers.edu.
Do all, I'm not sure if you know, Rob or Brittany, do all the schools do have chat on the websites? I think School of Arts and Sciences might.
So I'll say no, because I know we do not have technical chat available.
Okay.
But all
Our-
schools have ways of doing it. Some have, I know that a lot of us have Zoom rooms that are open for drop-ins at times. There's physical drop-ins to as well. There's appointments that can be scheduled. Some have chats, some don't. So it really depends again on the school. But we have ways for students to get in contact with us. There's no doubt about that at all. I will say, just one thing I'll throw out there is, I think that the concerns that we hear from students when they can't get in contact with someone is at the peak times when everyone is trying to reach us. I know at the BIS school we have 6,200 students, and they all want to talk to us during ad drop, and we've got 12 advisors. So not every 6,200 student can get who they want to see right away. So we tell students, hey, you got to be patient during peak times, or try to come to us not during the peak times. But the rest of the time, we'll have somebody that get back to them usually within 24 hours if they send an email, or they can hop on a Zoom room if it's open, or stop by the office.
Okay, great. Thank you. Bill, here's one for you. How does Rutgers identify and support students with unmet basic needs?
Can you just repeat it just a little bit more again for
Sure.
us?
How does Rutgers identify and support students with unmet basic needs?
Yeah, so a lot of that is really going to be self-identifying for a lot of the times for students to be able to come to us to then be able to provide those different resources. However, we do try to reach out to students that we can tell through their financial aid, whether that's their Pell Grant students or they have a SAI index of 0 to minus 1,500. Those will be some outreach that we will try to do. We do a lot of other support systems in regards to going to first year classes. All your students, if you have first year students that are, and you're on this call, your student was actually brought to the Basic Needs Center as part of their tour during new student orientation. So they have actually been in the space and have seen it, and were given, and our orientation leaders were scripted on sharing different information to them. We also did wellness presentations as part of new student orientation during their time here, where the Basic Needs Center was a focus and on what was shared. So on top of going to first year seminars and things like that, we do lots of different presentations, have lots of different activities, including our farmers markets that we bring onto campus on a weekly basis on Thursdays. We also have tabling out there as well to kind of talk to students and kind of share our different resources. Yard signs are everywhere across campus. Things are on our televisions across campus, letting them know about our basic needs. So what I will say is Rutgers does not hide behind, students are out there that have basic needs challenges, and that we actually have support systems in place. And I would say probably some of the top ones in the nation that our students are able to come to and get the support that they need so they can be healthy, they can thrive on campus, be successful. Because when a student's not able to not able to eat on a regular basis, and then they're not able to focus on the school and schoolwork that they have as well. So we do our best to really try to address any of those issues that they might have so they can be here and thrive and graduate.
Great. Thank you, Phil. Lucille, how can students access Learning Center services? Do they need to make appointments?
Yeah, so most of our services, you can use the app Penji, Penji. You do need to register for academic coaching and study groups, but for tutoring, it's a drop-in basis, so you can actually just view the schedule or pop into one of our learning centers if you want. But I would advise to have your student look at the schedule, see when they're available on which campus or on Zoom, and then you'll be able to show up accordingly. But for academic coaching, they would have to make an appointment.
Great. Thank you. Jeff, is there a protocol for students who need to take a leave of absence for health or personal reasons?
So when we're talking leave of absence, my guess is we're talking withdrawing fully from classes for the semester. Rutgers does not differentiate a leave of absence for medical or just because it's the best thing for me to do academically and in my personal life. So there is a website which we can pull up and share in the chat for a student to complete a withdrawal from the semester. I think currently up until next Monday or the Monday after, there's a 40% refund, and after that, I believe it goes down to 0%. But I will make sure that that information is shared in the chat.
I suppose, just a follow-up on that, Jeff, suppose it's not withdrawing from the university, suppose it's a death in the family and they're going to be
To
out
take
for a week or
to,
two.
to take a few days off from class. That's where our absence and verification notice process
Okay,
comes into play, and they can complete that with documentation for the medical situation or the death in the family. What we would not, what we try to do is keep the absences within 2 weeks or less, because missing 2 weeks is a lot, but missing more time than that kind of leads to lower grades and some concerns around that as well.
yeah, they're missing a lot of school after 2 weeks, I'm sure, a lot of classes.
Yep.
Nikki, does Rutgers have any place students can join in a group to talk about their mental health issues?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have a really fabulous group therapy program at Rutgers. In fact, when I talk to my colleagues from other colleges and universities, they're very impressed with how robust our group program is. I run a group every Friday that I've been running for 15 years called Understanding Self and Others. And that's a place where students can come and talk about their anxiety, their depression, their interpersonal struggles, whatever is coming up for them. So we run a number of those groups. Those groups meet weekly, and students can be in those groups, as long as they want, depending on the type of group. So I've had students in my group that have come for 3 or 4 years. They call it the highlight of their week, some of them. But we have a whole range of different groups. We've got groups that are more sort of psychoeducational groups where students learn specific skills to help with emotional regulation, distress tolerance, and interpersonal relationships. And we just have a huge variety of ways that students can use our groups to talk about their concerns. And you can always go to our website and get some more information about groups there.
Thanks, Nikki. Phil, here's another one for you. Does a student using basic needs office need to come from a family below a certain income level?
Absolutely not. Any student here at Rutgers, as long as they are a current student, can come to the Basic Needs Center. And then from there, we will try to get the best resources available to them. So there is not a true pre-screening. If a student has come in and says, hey, I'm having trouble being able to buy groceries this week, we'll have a conversation with them on why, right? We'll walk through whatever those challenges might be. Maybe it is because they didn't get enough hours the week before from their on-campus job. Maybe they were sick and they had to call off a few times. And now they don't have the money to be able to buy groceries and pay their rent. Well, that means that somebody might be food insecure at that moment. It doesn't have to be a continuous pendulum that goes along with that. But I think that's where it kind of comes in and have those conversations with the student. But any of our Rutgers students here at the New Brunswick campus are able to come in and utilize the basic needs services, be able to use the food pantry on a weekly basis. Again, our hope is students are only using it as a supplement to what they're already doing. But again, we have different challenges, and if students need to use it more or receive more, depending on what that situation is, they will actually meet with one of our staff members to assess whatever those additional needs might be.
Great, thanks so much. Here's one I'm not sure if this is actually for Jeff or Nikki, or maybe both of you. What should a student do if they're experiencing emotional challenges that are beginning to impact their studies?
So I'm going to say, speak to Nikki. No, really, the connection to help and the resources both here on campus as well as, community community resources, whether it's closer to home so that there's a longer term assistance. But I would say first and foremost, getting connected to help, and then really connecting with us and communicating what they're comfortable communicating with their professors, because it's important for students to get to know their faculty and to speak with them and be upfront and honest about what's occurring within their comfort level. Some of the guidance I give students quite regularly is through asking your professor for understanding. What is the worst thing that can happen? And the answer to that is nothing, right? If we ask, the worst thing that can happen is things stay exactly the same. The best thing that can happen is knowing how understanding and caring our professors are just as much as the folks on this screen, and that they want to help their students be successful in the classroom. So it's asking for help, kind of getting connected to the helping resources for them and their mental health, but also asking for help in the classroom so that they have the assistance that they need.
Yeah, I would just add, please have them reach out to us. I mean, this is why we're here. This is what we do. And, I sometimes help students literally write an email to their professor. They're very scared, or we'll role play like going to the office hours and what's that like, and, talk about their feelings and, normalize some of the things that they're going through, and just help them feel empowered to make the choices they need to make so that they can be successful here. Again, if it feels too intimidating to, call us or walk in, you can always go to one of our drop-in, more informal consultation hours and with one of our embedded counselors. But just really reaching out for help. Most of the time students say, gosh, I wish I had come here earlier. But the sooner you reach out, the sooner we can help you get back on track.
Right.
Yep,
That's
and
very true.
one thing I always like to add, and I try to have this conversation with students almost every day, the best time to ask for help is immediately when you recognize you need it. What we tend to see is students waiting 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 weeks, and it's really hard and almost impossible to dig out of that 3 and 4 and 5 week hole. But that 1 and 2 day issue, we can kind of retrack and get you back on the right path and get you really connected as quickly as possible. It's when we wait that long time is when it's the most difficult way to really try to resolve those issues.
Great. We're just about out of time, but I have 2 more questions. Rob, maybe this one, maybe you can take a, not a guess, I'm sorry. Maybe you can try to get this one. How does Rutgers support undecided students in choosing a major?
So, great question. I think one of the nice things about Rutgers is that there's a wide variety of courses that are usually required for students. They kind of span all different areas. So first off, exploring, trying different things. SAS has a core set of classes that all students must take across things like history and literature and those types of things. So it gives students an opportunity to test things out. Here at the business school, I can tell you that a lot of students come in knowing they want business, and we require them to take a class in each of the majors that we offer. So I think the curriculum is built in such a way that students do get to explore a little bit within reason. But on top of that, there are other options. They could talk to their advisor, or more importantly, I suggest talking to somebody from one of our career offices. We offer career exploration, and they have all sorts of tools that students can come in and they can assess kind of like skills that they have, interests they have, and they come up with a plan and some suggestions of different types of courses or majors that may be of interest to them. Very often I'll find a student absolutely knows things they don't want and absolutely knows things they do like. And so they can explore a little bit from there. But I'd say explore the classes, talk to career, talk to your advisor as well.
Great. Thank you. Brittany, do you want to add anything to that, or that pretty much? Good job, Rob. All right. I have one final one because we're just about out of time. I'm sorry, I had it for a second. To learning centers, are there workshops or programs to help students improve writing, public speaking, or test taking strategies?
Yes, so we do have some writing workshops. We have a number of different series that students can attend We also have graduate writing workshops, but there's not really like you can't really stop undergraduate students from also attending those if they apply if to what they're doing and their needs. We also have presentation skills tutoring as well as academic coaching workshops on presentation skills, and a number of different topics as well. And what was you said writing, presentation skills, and
Test taking strategies.
test taking? Yes. We do have workshops on finals prep as well as test taking. And they can meet one-on-one as well to develop some test taking strategies.
Great, thanks. All right, well, I want to thank all of the panelists tonight. You guys are fantastic. I hope everybody who is joining us tonight can see how committed everybody here is to your students and to help them succeed. Just so that you know, you will be getting, I saw it in the Q&A, we will be sending out the recording of this as well as the contact information for all the officers who are on our call this evening. And I believe we're going to get you the Q&A as well. I think we got to just about every question. Some of the questions were very similar. So if you didn't hear your exact question, it's because something else was, another question was asked like that. But I will go through all these again this evening and make sure if something wasn't answered, I'll make sure that's included in the email that goes out with all of tonight's information. And again, I want to thank everybody, the presenters, to the parents and families who are on, to coming tonight and learning how best to support your students. Please keep an eye on the Our Family Hub, which is how the Parents Office communicates with parents and families. We have a couple other virtual events coming up in the near future. I don't have specific dates yet, but you will be receiving information about those. So make sure you're aware of them or your student. And I want to just again thank everybody and thank Marissa Felice. Marissa's the assistant director, and she's always behind the scenes making sure all the questions get answered and all the links are out. So everybody have a great night. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.